And we're live! Hello! Hi, everybody! Hello, and welcome to this terrible, terrible episode of Mindless Banter, as I'm sure it will be. Because all of our episodes are terrible. Because I'm the one running this fucking show, and who the hell let me do that? I love how even you can tell just by their silence. They're like, yeah, we should have rethought this. But hello, you beautiful people. I apologize for the several weeks that were missed. Most of it was actually, all of it was my fault. Sort of. 1 week was literally not my fault. I couldn't do anything. I had no power. But the other weeks were life kicking my ass and me just not being able to get to the computer. So I apologize that we had several weeks there where we were not live. We're going to be continuing. We're going to be doing this every week. We're going to be getting things back up on track. I say every week. Don't hold us to that. God forbid we have at least 2 casters out. I mean, we don't really want to do it with just 2 people because we will get into a straight argument, especially with Serial and I, because we have very argumentative opinions about things. But just for those of you who don't know, we're going to do a quick little once-over around the room. For those of you who missed last stream, or those of you who are new, we are Mindless Banter. We are a group of 4 derpy guys, minus 1 today, who talk about some derpy news that we find online about video games, and just kind of go into giant rants about things, because we can. And, you know, just give our opinions, really where they're not warranted, even slightly. That's what we're here for. So I'm Max. I stream. I play way too many games. I have almost 1,000 games on on Steam, and people are trying to break me, so I get over 1,000. And yeah, I just play a whole lot of video games. I am kind of very all over the board with video games. There's not really a genre I don't like, and I will argue very vehemently for the things I care about. Well, that's me. We're gonna go down counterclockwise to the blind guy, trying to read down there.
Oh, me.
I mean, that's actually clockwise. Not counterclockwise. Excuse me, say it properly.
Hello.
Thank you.
And I'm the most extraordinary cookie clicker streamer on Twitch.
See, you think he's joking about that, people. He's not.
And I also like playing all the different video games, but I actually enjoy buying them more and not playing them.
Well, I do too, but I've been trying to play more of them lately to make my guilt go away. Whenever I pop up Steam Calculator and see how much my account is worth, which is in the over $10,000 range at this point, I have to make myself feel better. So
I just tell myself I'm building my inheritance, right? I'm just gonna leave it to somebody.
Except it's a rented lease, essentially. It's not an inheritance.
Don't burst my bubble, all right? Just let me have this.
You don't have this, though. That's the whole point.
Well, shit.
Anyways, I'm Trick. I'm a live streamer. I haven't been playing a lot of games this couple weeks because I've been in school, but I have to deal with these 2 crazy people, so this should be interesting.
What are you talking about? We're fucking amazing. Well, half of us are fucking amazing.
And that would be me.
Damn it, the people who are listening to this aren't going to get me pointing to myself.
So they'll know it's me.
They'll know lies! Lies, I tell you! But yeah, so what have you guys been playing this week?
Dude, Horizon Zero Dawn, still.
It's been like 3 or 4 weeks.
It's so good, though. Like, I gotta collect all the things and do all the things. And, dude, Aloy, she's pretty hot, so, I mean...
Your video game character, dude. Mm-hmm. You're blind. You could look at fucking Mrs. Butterworth and think she's pretty hot, and I'm sure you have. That look on your face tells me you have many a time. I was like, how does he know?
Show you how much my butter's worth, baby.
Video games this week. I've played a little bit of Minecraft, a little bit of Warframe, and that's pretty much it.
Man, you guys are so exciting.
I've still been going ham on that Luminous as well. Because...
I mean, Luminous is a great, like, quick game to load up, so I don't blame you on that one. Myself, I have been playing a bunch of games. Mostly, honestly, if we're talking about the time I've really dedicated myself to, I've gotten really sucked back into Guild Wars 2. I loaded it up recently, and I found another streamer who's been playing it, and it's just a fun game, and it's great just because even if you're, like, like me, an insomniac, and up at 4 in the morning, there's usually a giant group of people rushing world events and stuff like that, and you can just end up in this huge party, fucking power leveling yourself way faster than you ever should be able to, and it's a lot of fun.
How good is like the whole way they're monetizing that now with it being free to play? I haven't played it a shitload since it went free to play.
It's literally the monetization hasn't changed. The reason they dropped that to free to play is because both of the DLC or both of the expansions were the full cost of a game. So they're about $30 a piece. Well, I think they've actually dropped down at this point, but when they went free to play, they were about $30 a piece. I think they're down to 20 now. But it's literally the same stuff. It's all cosmetic. I mean, you can get some really cool skins and stuff like that, but the only things that you can't unlock as a free-to-play player are anything that's in the expansion pack. So there's mounts in the second one, and then there's the glider in the first one. And then there's specific class specializations that you can't unlock unless you have those expansion packs. But besides that, all the main content game is available. You can play all the living world events that are currently going on, just like a paid player could. Because I paid for that game well in advance. I bought the like the $100 version where you got like 4 days head start or whatever before it was actually open to the public and things like that. So literally, it's the same content, and I spent a lot of money for nothing, considering I didn't play it that much. As much as I should have to justify that price. But, I mean, it's still a lot of fun. If you like a good MMO and you want it a little bit more action-y, but not like fucking Raiders or Terra kind of action where you have to sit there and
it's got that like active targeting thing or whatever, which is it's about the right balance of
it's not too much where it's not like Terra where you have to sit there and like aim it like an FPS. You can just kind of like, yes, you have to actively kind of control it, but very slightly. Where it's not difficult for a new person to like try to figure out where to go and what to do and blah blah blah. They give you very good reticles for everything and all of that jazz. Aside from that, I played some Papers, Please on stream, and I did a terrible Slavic accent for about 4 or 6 hours. And apparently people loved it so much that they tried to break me and rating me after that. I was up to like 80 viewers at one point, just because I was sitting there doing this god awful Slavic action, glory to Aristoshka kind of shit.
You were doing that for quite a while.
Oh god, yeah, it was literally like 6.5 hours straight, and it kept getting worse and worse because I've been doing it so long that I would lose it, and it just like all of a sudden I'm slipping into like some sort of weird mix of like German and Jamaican right now, and I don't know what's happening.
The worst part is like you walk away and go do something else, and you're still doing that shit. People are looking at you like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy?
And all of his sentences.
Glory to Aratoshka. Yes, I did. That's not the point, though. I'm trying to think what else I played. I booted up.
Played some.
Sorry, go ahead.
I know on stream you played some PC.
I did play some PC building simulator. And I pretty much made myself bankrupt. I'm afraid to go back into that game because I have like several $1,000s worth of jobs that I need to complete and like $200 left to my name because I kept buying the wrong cards. Because every time I would load up that like Will It Run program, the internal game program, obviously it's not an actual program, but I kept looking at the what you have and not what's required for this game and getting the bars confused, so I would go out and spend like $600 on a graphics card, but like, oh, this is the graphics card that's already in this machine. Shit, I'm poor. I did that repeatedly.
I do have a nice stock of graphics cards, so I got that going for me.
Yes, graphics cards that are quickly becoming obsolete.
Yeah, he did not get good.
Oh, there was no getting good. There was just scrub.
You should have just started your own like fucking mining company.
Yeah, that's not an option in there. If there was an option, I'd be all over that. Like white on rice, or yellow on rice, or brown on rice, or whatever rice colors you can think of. But yeah. Alrighty. So I guess we should just hop into the first story then. Which, speaking of MMOs, this one is one I play occasionally. I don't play as much as I used to. Back, ironically enough, when an old member of the Mindless Banter host community and I used to play together, Prowling Panther, we used to play a game called EVE Online. And for those of you who don't know EVE Online is one of the biggest and most ridiculous MMO scenes in the world. It is literally built on deception and like corporate espionage, and like literally you build up like millions of actual dollars worth of things, and like try to deceive people. People try to espionage their way into enemy corporation and take over them so they can like destroy them from within. It's one of the most ridiculous things. And honestly, if you just ever want to see a really interesting online landscape, I highly recommend you go take a look at some of the stories with EVE Online. But to a lot of people's dismay, and mine as well, because I don't know how this is going to go, the creators, CCP, are being sold off or acquired by Pearl Abyss. Now, for those of you who don't know Pearl Abyss are the company that made Black Desert Online, which might ring some alarm bells for any MMO fans here. Not a bad MMO, but also very, very, very vigorously monetized MMO. So...
And EVE went free to play like last year, was it? I think.
EVE
like,
went
well,
free to
partially
play.
free to play. Like you can.
It's been free to play. I think it's been a year and a half at this point now. And then silence.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. EVE to me always just looked like there's always this huge build up to something amazing, right? So it's probably like, you know, days and days and days of kind of tedious, somewhat boring stuff, followed by, you know, one day of just amazing huge battle. Or
Oh no, not only is it amazing huge battle, let me tell you from somebody who has not directly participated in it, because I'm not part of any of those big corporations. I was for a little while, but I just didn't have enough time or money to dedicate to EVE. I say money, it's really just the subscription fee, but I didn't have enough time to really make it worth it to try to be like in this corporation. But not only is it this huge build-up for this huge, amazing moment, but I want to tell you that unless you're running some sort of god-fucking beastly machine, you're never going to be able to see most of this. It's going to be like 3 frames per second for like 6 hours straight of fights. And it's amazing when you see like somebody who, or like the server, like CCP, uploading a video of it or clips of it and stuff like that. But from your perspective, you're running everything. It looks like just a black box with like all these charts around you and like occasional things going off around you. And that's it. It's such a fun experience, but like it's really like you have to have the time and the money, or not even, like I said, not even the money, but you have to really have the time to dedicate to it. And like, you know, just be collecting on some beautiful investments and just sit there and play EVE Online all day kind of stuff to really get the full kind of stuff out of it. And I think that's the biggest issue with
full-time job.
Yeah, basically. And literally, there's charts and there's the difference between what is data signature analysis and data signature programming, and like all these crazy stuff. And you're just like, I don't know what is happening. I don't know what I'm training, but I'm gonna go and mine that rock for an hour. Basically, how I end up playing.
Yeah, EVE Online is not a game I really got into. I played it a very, very small amount. I want to say several years ago. Like 8+.
It's been around a long time.
Now, because of the sale to Pearl Abyss, I find it unlikely that they will really try to push heavy monetization for the simple fact of the current fan base of EVE. Like I find, as an outside observer, the fan base of EVE is very vehement, very
Outspoken.
Outspoken, occasionally, very passionate. That's the word I was looking for. Very passionate about the game, because some have take their real world jobs as seriously as they do their in-game role in their corporation. So I think the negative backlash that Pearl Abyss would receive from heavy monetization, I think would definitely give Pearl Abyss a sort of warning.
I don't know, it doesn't stop EA.
But EA is a bastard anyways.
Who's to say Pearl Abyss isn't? I mean, have you seen the monetization in Black Desert Online? Literally, like, they will stop you from walking at a certain speed if you don't pay money. And you think that's an exaggeration. It's not. I have Black Desert Online. It is really not. So, I mean, fingers crossed they don't ruin it. It's still a game I hop into every once in a while and spend a little time to. Honestly, really what I do It's because you can train up your skills. I'll go in there and I'll set skills to train for like the next 8 days, and then I'll load it up in 8 days, and I'll set my next skill to train, and I'll never use them. I'm like
Well, people
almost
do
a
lot of
max
boxing
tier.
in that game too, don't they?
What?
People do a lot of boxing in that game as well, don't they?
Little boxing.
Running
Dukes up?
multiple accounts at the
Oh,
same time.
multi-boxing, yes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say boxing, no. I mean, there's no Floyd versus Mayweather going on in here. I mean, well, yeah. So, I mean, here's hoping. Like I said, I kind of enjoy the game. I don't really have the community to play the game with, and I don't really feel like, you know, trying to connect with 300 people who are trying to definitely stab me in the back and maybe find that one person who's not an asshole. So, not a game I'm super worried about, but it kind of sucks for the big community and for the stories that come out of it, that maybe it might be changed up dramatically and ruined, stuff like that. Because it is a huge part of gaming culture, and even if you don't play it, you know about it. You've heard some crazy story about it. You've heard about some dude who like spent 6 months infiltrating a corporation and stole like $30,000 worth of IRL money stuff from a corporation, that kind of stuff. Everybody's heard that story, seen it on a Kotaku or a Polygon or whatever. And yeah, it'll suck to see it go. If you go down the tube, if it does. But I mean, if the money's not there, clearly it's not working that well anyway. So, speaking of EA being bastards, I just noticed what the next one was. I feel like that was a very accidental segue.
Early segue.
early segue. I segue before we start the stream. But EA is and it's not the only company that's been having issues with it, or having issues with this specific ruling. But Belgium. The Belgian government, sorry, yes, I tongue-tied that entire thing. Belgian government recently decreed that loot box were considered gambling, and decreed that all companies had to take it out, at least within their country, which kind of sucks because Overwatch just took them out in Belgium, and I was hoping that they would get rid of them everywhere, at least for the paid ones. But, you know, what are you gonna do? But
well, there was a big summit recently too on gambling with a bunch of different countries in Washington State, and it was kind of the same thing where they were going to go to all the publishers and be like, look, you got to do something about this shit. Like, the funny thing is, like, EA is trying to mobilize all their quote unquote fans in Belgium to, you need to,
that's not EA.
Your government.
That's not EA.
Well, Blizzard was doing it too.
2K was the one who started that.
2K was doing it too. Yeah,
2K is the one who started it. They're like, oh, you guys need to tell everybody that you need to allow us to sell. But yeah, basically, hold on. We didn't even finish the description of the story. Basically, Belgian banned outlawed loot boxes. EA directly said no, or just didn't take them out, and they're going to challenge the Belgian government in court for that. But yeah, a lot of these companies are trying to rally their people, their fan bases, and be like, you should tell them that we should be allowed to sell loot boxes, and all the fan bases are sitting there going at them very loudly.
Well, I think if EA loses that case, it's going to set a hell of a precedent for other countries to come in and be like,
well, I just saw recently, I didn't post this in there because it was just like the beginnings of talk, but I know Australia is also talking about enacting a ban with that as well. Which, I mean, doesn't surprise me that much. Everybody knows about Australia's very strict
bans and everything.
Bans and regulations and trade laws and stuff like that. But like, more and more companies go into this and start making this illegal, it's going to make it a lot easier for other countries and, you know, state governments or whatever to start allowing this on an individual level. And as long as it hopefully continues and builds up, eventually it's just going to be simpler for a company not to do it. It's just going to be more difficult for a company to try to handle that on an individual basis than just get rid of it from their system completely and try to figure out something else to monetize their game. Which, I mean, there are definitely good ways to monetize your games. Microtransactions are a thing, and you can do it. And a lot of people, as you can see by fucking Fortnite, will spend way too much money just to look slightly different from their neighbor. So you really don't need to randomize it.
Yeah. When I first read the story about EA, not taking out their loot boxes in Belgium, I instantly thought of the music producer from South Park.
You lost me there. Serial might know you better, but
The one that goes, "I am above the law."
Oh, I am above the law.
Because they haven't taken it out, even though it's now considered illegal gambling.
well, they're intentionally specifically not doing because they're thinking they can win in court. Because EA
But they
has,
won't. Because
yeah, that's the thing. EA is used to fighting things on United States soil, where United States government sees, oh look, this huge company and it's making our country money and blah blah blah. And they bend over backwards to catch out, where Belgium is just this tiny company who doesn't give a shit and gets no benefit from EA. So they're just like, yep, we're gonna take you down.
But it is going to be very interesting to see the precedent that this case has on the whole, not just Belgium, but probably the European Union. Because if I do recall, Belgium is a member of the EU. So that
Yeah, I think if the whole EU just went all in on it, they would probably just get rid of them altogether, right? I think you reach that point where, like Max was saying, it just becomes too much to deal with.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah, when you have to separate it out on a case by case basis like that. Although clearly Blizzard's willing to do that as far as Belgium goes, because they took out all their pay for loot boxes and Overwatch over there. But once it becomes separating out by districts over large areas, yes, it just becomes too much difficulty. It becomes too hard to deal with on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, very much so. I know in China, I do believe it is, in Overwatch, they can't do loot boxes over there without telling you the percent chance of each item in the loot box.
That's why they're available globally now. That's why we all know.
But they found a loophole in that, right? So in China, they don't do each item. They put them into categories, and then they say, oh, well, you have this percent chance of getting this from this category. So they found a way around it. It's still, they get more information than we do, but
we can still get that information, which is what I like, although it's not as easy for us to find by any means. Man, can we just get rid of pay for loot boxes? Can I just earn my stuff in game, man? And not EA's.
What happened? What happened to earning your shit in game?
Well, and then like the microtransactions on full price games piss me off more than anything else too, right? Pick a method and go with it, right? Don't charge me $60 for a game, or even $30 for a game, and then be like, well, I'm gonna have microtransactions.
It depends. I mean, some things I don't mind that much. Like if it's literally just a pure cosmetic thing, Fortnite style, if I go in and I can buy a different skin and it doesn't change my actual effect of the game whatsoever, I'm fine with that. I don't really care that much. I'm not picky enough where I need my character to look super pretty. I'll just play the game if I enjoy the game, and if I don't, I don't give a shit enough about the microtransactions anyway. So, but if it becomes a thing of microtransactions versus time or overpoweredness or anything like that, like you can get actual boons to your account, that's where I really hit up the issue. Because I'm a big fan of... sorry, go ahead.
But you don't like it with Overwatch, but it's the same thing, right? It's just cosmetic bullshit there.
I don't like it with Overwatch because it's not I don't like the loot box pay thing. I don't like a random chance get thing. If I'm gonna spend the money on something, I want to be able to drop $5 and get this specific skin I want. I don't want to have to, run either basically spend 30 hours and pray that I get this 1% chance drop, or drop $70 and get 50 loot boxes and open them all up and still probably not get the skin I want.
Well, I think like a lot of people are like, oh, I'm fine if it's cosmetics and you give me a way to earn it in game. But the problem there is if you make it so you can buy those cosmetics, then the publisher has every want to make it hard for you, and sometimes not impossible, to earn those in games, right? To just turn it into a complete grind. Like, well, yeah, you can earn it in game, but you want this skin, you're going to grind away for 16 hours or whatever. Like,
well, that's more the free-to-play method than anything else, to be fair. I think there's a certain understanding, differentiating between free-to-play and pay-to-play games with microtransaction. Like, free-to-play, if they have that thing where you can earn it, and then you have to spend that amount of time, It makes sense. You're not paying anything for the game. They want you to dedicate the time. They want you to
Right,
be
I'm fine.
essentially, padding those metrics and stuff like that.
Whatever you want to do if you're free to play, as long as it's not pay to win bullshit, I'm fine with it, right? But the second you start charging me an upfront fee for the game, and then you want to do that kind of shit on top of that, that's where I kind of start having an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to pick and choose, and some companies don't know where to stop and just go over the
No,
top.
they want all the monies.
I mean, I want all the monies too, but I'm not going to be a greedy bitch about it. I'm just going to sit here and hope that I get all the monies. Which is probably why I'm not a rich corporation at this point. Anyway, moving on to the next story. This is one you two probably don't give any amount of shits about, but I love this game. I think it was one of the most underappreciated RPGs of that era. It got swept under the rug with things like Skyrim coming around out around it, and Dragon's Dogma and stuff like that, all coming out kind of in the same area. But Kingdoms of Amalur, originally made by 38 Studios, has been picked up after their, I think it's 5-year hiatus. I can't remember the specific amount. But Kingdoms of Amalur, which went completely radio silent, such a great game. Not super open world, but like open enough that you felt like you were really doing stuff and having a lot of fun. It was the game you kind of load up and like go through a couple of quests for a few hours or an hour or two, and then put it down and then pick it up later on. But yeah, it's been picked up by THQ Nordic in the dissolving of the of 38 Studios, which I'm very excited about. I would really like to see a new one. I would really like to see a new one, and I'm very excited to see what THQ Nordic is doing, man. Have you heard about them? Either of you guys heard about them? Because they've been like
I
going...
was just gonna ask, has THQ in general done shit for the last 5 years?
They did Darksiders and the remakes. They did that LX game that was all over Twitch for a little while. I know they've done some stuff, but they've been picking up a bunch of old franchises that I'm very excited to see again. Like, they picked up Kingdoms of Amalur. I know, I also read recently, I think it actually is in this article somewhere, they recently picked up Time Splitters as well, which I would love to see brought back, because Time Splitters on the PlayStation 2 was so good. Time Splitters 2 specifically. Oh, yeah. But...
I can't, I have a hard time splitting THQ from, like, the old THQ that would just do all the movie tie-in games and all that bullshit.
Well, apparently THQ has Saints Row back.
You do, and this is THQ Nordic, to be fair. They're separate from the parent company. I mean, obviously, they're still a child company, but they're not... It's not that
I just hear
THQ.
THQ and I think fucking, just Terminator games and bullshit like that.
What do you mean the Terminator games were the best games?
I don't even know if that was THQ, but that's what just...
Guys, from now on my channel, we'll be streaming nothing but Terminator 24/7. Prepare.
LJN stream.
Oh, don't even joke about that, you monster!
Start doing some tasks, speed runs of Terminator.
Oh, just don't even bring up LJN. I hate you so much.
That's kind of how THQ was there for a while, though. They were like the new...
I mean,
LJN.
the modern LJN, yeah. But not quite as bad. I mean, their games were mediocre at best, but they were not like stab yourself in the fucking side of the neck terrible. They were at least playable and had to hit certain, bottom line standards. I can't hear you. I see your mouth moving.
I'm not talking.
Oh, okay. Your mouth was moving, and I was like, if you're saying insulting things behind my back, I don't know what you're saying. I'd rather take the insults to the face. All right, moving on from that awkward moment. Going back to MMO, I probably should have organized this better. I do not. I just find these articles as I go, and I always say we should organize them, and none of us ever do. Except for Serial, who moved to one article. But
we still have the WildStar developer.
That's what I was going into, yes. Why I said speaking of MMO. Don't cut off my segue, damn it!
Derailed.
But yes, for any of those who were fans of WildStar, which I'm going to assume is absolutely none of you, because every time I would try, I didn't mind the game. I actually kind of enjoyed it as an MMO, but every time I went on, and I think this is the fate of a lot of MMOs, even if they're good, is if the community starts to falter and you go on and you see nobody there, you just don't want to play. You're just like, what's the point? So every time I
Well,
would go on and try it out, there was literally like nobody in the area.
WildStar was supposed to be like the classic WoW experience, right? Like
It was supposed to be the WoW killer. And to be fair, for a while, they took a chunk out of the numbers. I will say that. When it first came out, there was a lot of hype and excitement for it. I mean, maybe not as big a chunk as they were hoping for, but it did take a chunk. There's a lot of people who were just like, oh, this is going to be the new game, blah, blah, blah. And then it just kind of petered out, all the hype.
That kind of seems to be the thing with every big MMO that comes out. Like, oh, this one's gonna be the WoW killer, and it just never happens.
I think the issue is trying to make something the WoW killer, because you're never going to be the WoW killer as long as WoW is still existing like that, because people from WoW aren't looking for a new game like that. People from WoW are staying with WoW and not going to a new game because they have already spent so much time in WoW.
Yeah, they're
not because
invested
there's
in
not
WoW.
an It's like I've spent, it's the same reason I still play Guild Wars 2 probably, and I keep getting resucked into it. It's because I bought it on day one, and I've spent so much time. I have this guild that has this massive guild hall, and we've been working on new things for it, blah, blah, blah. And despite the fact that there are probably better MMOs out there at this point, although I do love Guild Wars 2, and if you want to play Guild Wars 2 with me, hit me up. Hashtag self-promo. It's, I've just spent so much time with it that I'm probably a lot less likely to leave that game or, like, deactivate that account and sell off the stuff on it or whatever than I am for any other game that I might just try out for a few months and be like, it was good, but I didn't spend that much time. I don't care that much, and nobody's playing it that I know, kind of thing. Like, I still, like I said earlier when we were talking about games we played, I'm still playing Guild Wars 2, despite the fact that I barely know anybody who plays now. I have maybe, like, barely any of my guild are playing. They'll log on every once in a while, and I know a streamer, an Australian streamer, who I will see at 6 in the morning when I happen to be up sometime, and I'll play with him. Those are the only people I play with anymore. So, it's like...
Yeah, you and I played for a couple hours until I got, bored.
Yeah, you got sick of it and deleted it. I still have you on my friends list. I will never see you log on again, but we did play for a little bit.
I can't do MMOs anymore. Like, I'm just tired of collecting whale assholes and the like.
Oh, hold on. I'll zip my pants up then.
Yeah, I see. I never really got into a lot of MMOs super heavy, with the exception of 2. I was into WoW for quite a while, about 2.5 expansions, and then there was Shin Megami Tensei. I imagine.
I played that back in the day, but
the entire.
We didn't have an issue. We didn't have any, other option besides to not play that anymore because they fucking closed it down.
Oh, there is a server running right now.
Yeah, I know you told me about it, but like officially, you don't really have any option, and you don't get to carry your stuff over from your old thing, and like that's again, it goes back to what I was saying, where you spent the time, and like as much as I kind of wouldn't mind playing that game again, I'm sure it doesn't hold up as well anymore because obviously it's many years later, and I don't have my stuff from my previous character, which I spent a lot of time getting.
Yeah.
So it's just like, yes, you've told me about that, and yes, it kind of sounds cool, but I don't really have that urge. I'm like, oh, I need to go play this game because I spent a lot of time playing it, and I'm not having that same benefit from it. You know what I mean? So, it is what it is. And, man, MMO segues just happened to work out today. Another MMO is coming out. A company called Athlon Games has signed a deal with Middle-earth Enterprises to produce a multi-year online game produced on Lord of the Rings, which is interesting to me because Lord of the Rings Online is still a thing. So I'm very.
I think you and I played that at some point too.
We did. Mostly, you remember how I got you to play that with me?
No, it's been a while.
I got you to play that with me because I played a bard character and I had programmed many songs in my bard. So I would run around in towns playing things like Metallica and Led Zeppelin on my little fucking lute and just shredding down. Because I had it like programmed to a hotkey where I play it. And all of a sudden he'd start jamming out Master of Puppets in the middle of town.
You and I were playing one of the Skyblock FTV Sky Factory or something at the same time. and I came back onto the server after being logged off for a day, and you had made a fucking minecart that played a Led Zeppelin tune.
Yes, I did. I forgot. Yeah, because I had it. The redstone would tink off the note blocks as it went by. It was just like I was up all night anyway. It was one of those nights where my insomnia was really bad and I couldn't sleep. So I just stayed up all night and made that. And he just logged on one day, and I was like, "Cereal, get in this cart." He's like, "What?" I was like, "Get in the cart," and he just started going off on Led Zeppelin. It's like, what, why? How much time do you have?
The real question is, what song was it?
Oh, I can't remember.
Was it fucking Kashmir or something? Like
Kashmir or
Immigrant
Immigrant or
Song.
one of those? Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my. It's been years at this point. I just remember him coming on being like, why? Why do we have a giant roller coaster in the middle of our house right now? Why do you want me to get in it? And then all of a sudden, just the straight minute of silence, as like both shame and admiration were combating in his mind for who was gonna win. Oh. Yeah, but yeah, I'm excited. I mean, I love Lord of the Rings. I'm very excited with what's happening with Lord of the Rings. For those of you who don't know, we haven't mentioned this on the show because it was announced a while ago. But Amazon has picked up Lord of the Rings as well for a series that looks amazing. They're actually going into not just like the main series, like what the movies covered. They're starting off with Aragorn back in Rivendell, or actually I think before Rivendell, when he was like 40 years old and stuff like that, and going on through the story. So you're getting like the expanded, like the EU of Lord of the Rings, and I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan. I'm a huge Tolkien fan. I obsessed with it. So I'm very happy with this. I'm very interested to see what happens with the MMO. I know the current one does a very good job, although it is very outdated. I still load it up from time to time. It's just not aged beautifully. The graphics are not where they need to be for my current level of fidelity requirements. But it is still a fun game. And if you feel like, as you will hear me consistently say, if you want a good MMO, you should also try that one.
I want to do a segue, but it's a segue to something that's not on the list. But you said something that made me think about something new being on Amazon or Netflix or whatever. Just read this morning. The creators of Avatar: The Last Airbender are doing a live action spin-off of it on Netflix.
Yes, I did hear about that.
That just makes me nervous because now all I can think of is M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong.
No,
Hello,
it's not gonna
I
be.
am
It better
Ong.
not be the Ong.
Anga! What do you
Oh,
mean? That was the greatest movie ever made.
the movie that shall not be named.
The greatest movie ever filmed?
Oh Christ!
It was the
I hope
Christ
this
of
is gonna be
movies. Thank
good.
you for knowing.
Yeah.
Basically, it existed for 3 days and then we nailed it to a cross. That's how bad it was. It was the Christ of
It's like
movies.
I think M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong just like watched the opening cutscene from that one. All right, I got it enough to let's make a movie.
Well, I think M.
I
Night Shyamalan Ding Dong did what M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong does, and he had a movie in mind, and just happened to get the license for it in the studios and make this, and he stuck what he wanted to do in that. He didn't really care about the source material. He was just like, I want to make a cool movie that has this stuff in it. They're like, well, we have this IP.
Yeah.
Side note, I just love the fact that you guys call him Shyamalan Ding Dong too.
Is that? I mean, there's no other official name. Let's be fair here. It is M. Night
Dude,
Shyamalan Ding Dong.
I it's just I love that fucking series, dude. There's a reason why my dog is named Sokka, right? Like just
What a
so
tribe.
fucking good.
Dude, I love fucking Avatar. And now I'm gonna have to watch Avatar tonight. You don't understand. I'm gonna be up until like 3 a.m, like playing Guild Wars and watching Avatar on my other monitor. Instead of what I've been doing, which is playing Guild Wars and watching Critical Role on my other monitor, because I am
Dude, they
obsessed
had
with it.
all 3 seasons of Avatar on sale at
All
Walmart
3
for
seasons
$8.
of Amazon, man. I didn't know I can get Prime that
Amazon.
good.
Yeah, $8. Snatch that shit right up.
What, on DVD?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want no fucking lo-fi. Okay, I want my Blu-ray, man. I don't take no peasant shit. Got my
Says
Blu-ray
the
player
man
right in
with
my
no
sheet.
money.
Hmm?
Says the man with no money.
That's why I just stream it in 1080p. I don't need to buy it if I can stream it that quality. You have access to Nickelodeon. You can stream it for free.
Well, they have that new deal where it's like all the old Nick cartoons and like
Oh
the
yeah,
Rooster
that's like
Teeth
the
shit
new. It's
and
like their VRV or whatever, but like the classic '90s.
VMO.
Yeah, it's like the same idea as VRV with Funimation and another company too. I think it was Funimation and Crunchyroll tuned up. They kind of took that idea and was just like,
Uh,
let's get all these old owners of
oh
that.
no, it is that same thing because it has Crunchyroll in it as well. It is that.
Oh, then it's
Verve.
VRV. Yeah,
Yeah. It's
Verve,
got all the Nick shit in it now.
yeah, yeah. I didn't realize that was all the same thing. Might be
which
something to
is
consider when this job starts because then I will never leave the internet computer.
Just watch Doug all day long.
Excuse me, Angry Beavers. Hello. The amount of sexual innuendo that went over my head as a kid in that show about the beavers taking all that hardwood. It just right over
It's the
my
same
head.
thing with like fucking Rocco's
Rocco's Modern
Life, right?
Life, where they had Choky Chicken was their fucking restaurant, and that episode where Rocco was a sex worker,
Yeah.
and the
yeah,
one where
and
he
then
ends
there
up in the
was,
giant fat hippo lady's tits, and she's like, "Excuse me."
and then there's the carpet eater bike gang.
Yeah,
Good show.
this was a good show. And there's so many shows. Oh, plus, wait. Important question: is Ren and Stimpy on there?
I don't think so. I think I asked about that and somebody said no, or no, I asked about because it's got all the MTV shows on there too. So I asked if Beavis and Butthead was on there, which it's not.
I wasn't a huge Beavis and Butthead fan, so I live without that one.
Maybe you're in a Stimpy, yes. I don't know.
Anyway, moving along from our random '90s nostalgia trip.
Mm-hmm.
Fun, interesting fact for those of you who were a GameCube fanboy like me back in the day. Although I say that, I was a fanboy of all of them. I literally had all three systems. I don't think I was really a fanboy. I was just obsessed with video games. But one of my favorite Final Fantasy series that has gone under the wayside, Crystal Chronicles, is coming to the PlayStation 4 and the Switch. And I'm very excited about that little remaster, remake. I don't know what you would call it, slightly freshened up. Because
It's a remaster.
they don't look particularly that remastered, considering. But it does look beautiful, and I want to play it. And it was one of the most interesting Final Fantasy games because it took the entire thing and instead of half-assing it into an action RPG like Final Fantasy 12 did, or making it sit there and press X 300 times in a row and then walk down the same linear corridor like Final Fantasy 13 did, it was an actual like Zelda-esque action RPG with like puzzles and stuff like that, and it was a lot of fun.
I thought 11 was the MMO.
Yeah, I didn't say MMO.
11 and 14.
Whoa.
Yeah, I said 12 instead of half-assing it and making it half action RPG. ARPG,
Okay.
not MMO. It was the 12 was the one where you ran around and you like controlled your character's movement, but you had to like push the button and like tell them what to do to actually attack. So like you kind of felt like you had some control, but you had nothing really. And the
I
AI
always
were
have to
so
ask
stupid.
this. What's the one that I hated?
All of them.
No, I love the Final Fantasy games, but like, was it one of the
13.
ones that had a dash two?
And a what?
10
Had
2?
a dash two, like
Oh, Final
dash
Fantasy
one.
13 2 and Final Fantasy 10 2 you hated. We've had this
The
conversation
original
before.
one, like the one that was super linear. Yeah. Okay.
Final Fantasy 13 was the most linear, I will say.
Okay.
That was the one where you
Garbage.
basically the description was, and all the reviews would say, it gets good once you get about 40 or 50 hours into it. And then
Yeah, I just
everybody
couldn't
would be
get there.
commenting and goes, you guys realize that's not a compliment, right?
Yeah. Garbage. Yeah. So then they go and make a dash two for it, which I never got around to
Well,
playing.
the whole point, ironically enough, that was supposed to be a whole giant series. They made 3 of them. There was supposed to be Final Fantasy 15 was supposed to be part of that, and they actually removed it because of the negative stigma of how much people hated 13 over here. They rebranded 15 as its own
15.
thing.
And 15 actually looks pretty good.
15 looks beautiful. I mean, I think it's a lot more linear, but it's a lot more like kind of live action, like cutscene based, where like the linearness makes sense. It's like a story and the characters interacting. It's not like you're running down a hallway and it's linear and they're just saying things to you as you're running down the hallway and pressing X in this battle over and over again. Like it makes sense conceptually because it's a lot more kind of cinematic versus 13, which had just let's take you out of everything cutscenes and then running down hallways. Versus this one is like your characters do stuff and like actually interact with things as you control them, which makes a lot more sense and makes the game a lot more immersive. So I would love to try 15 at some point. I have not bought it yet. I don't have money
They
for
have
it.
the like mobile version coming to the Switch. I don't know.
Yeah, they
how
do.
aired down that
I mean,
is.
I think I have it on here. Actually, I bought it with one of those. I use Google Rewards or whatever. I just saved up my money for that.
I've
It's-
heard a lot of good things about 15. I've had a couple friends who played it and said it was really good. It's
I've heard it's great too.
I don't believe it's I believe there's an objective of get from A to B, but you can go do that however way you want, I think.
Yeah.
Is how it was described to me.
I like Jim Sterling calls it "Gorgeous Boys on a Road Trip Simulator."
Yeah.
Called it? What do you mean called it?
Called it. He's not dead.
Wait, who'd you say?
That's Jim Sterling.
Oh,
TV.
sorry, I misheard it. I was like, wait, what?
Like,
Who did you think he was? Who did you think
I
he
thought
said?
it was said TB, and I was like, called it.
Oh.
What do you mean calls it? And then I was like, wait a minute. Okay, now I feel like the asshole.
too soon, man. Too soon.
It's never too soon. Listen, you know him, and you know he would say it was never too soon.
This is true.
Let's be fair here. He would want us making jokes about his death by now. Like, granted, I miss him and all the work he did for the gaming community as a whole, but he would not be offended by that even a little bit. So this next one, speaking of being offended, or disappointed, I guess, is more the way. I don't know how many of you heard about this one. This one made me cringe so hard and giggle like a little schoolgirl. Who here heard
Yeah.
about the wedding proposal hidden in Spider-Man?
I did.
Tell us more.
Tell us more, tell us more. So yes, this gentleman, let's see if I can find his name in here. Tyler Schultz sent out a tweet to Insomniac, who's making the new Spider-Man game, and basically sent out a tweet to them and asked them, hey, I want to propose to my girlfriend. Do you think you guys would be willing to sneak a proposal in there? Blah, blah, blah. You know, will you put the Easter egg? Will you marry me anywhere in the game? I would appreciate it, kind of thing, yada, yada, yada. And they were like, who are we to say no to love? If I remember correctly, is exactly what they said.
Yeah.
And they put it in there. Turns out that not only did they break up before the game came out, she left him for his brother. So now
Yeah.
there's just this painful reminder of it in the game. Apparently
They
it's
should
going
go
to
in
be
and change
patched
it.
out, I've heard, but
Yeah.
I was in the art, but they should go in and just change it to "Will you marry my brother?"
you incestual.
Yeah,
I'm trying
it's,
to, if I knew more about the Spider-Man world, I would try to make a joke there, but I got nothing.
I say I don't know enough about the Spider-Man world either. I know about the original Spider-Man comics, like the first couple of generations that I had used to have like this thick graphic novel of like the origins of Spider-Man, but that's about it. That was when I was a kid. A little shitling.
Oh, you're a big shitling.
Thank you. I was waiting for somebody to run with that one. I left the fucking door wide open.
The fruit is slow hanging and it tastes fucking amazing.
Oh, I did not know that true. Apparently, they're not patching it out. As Tyler said to leave it in.
That
That's what
has
she
also
said.
been considered a rumor. Like they're doubting the validity of some of these things. So we'll see what happens with the full patches. Because I've also seen that, but then there was questions on whether or not they did that or not, and whether or not some of the story is actually true. But I still think it's a hilarious story nonetheless. I'm gonna fucking run with it. But can you imagine being that guy, getting the game, girlfriend just left you for your brother, loading it up. First thing you see is, Maddie, will you marry me? God damn it! Oh, fun stuff. It's ironic that True joined in our chat. For those of you who are listening, we do also stream this live on twitch.tv/mindless_banter. Just so you know, so occasionally we will reference the chat. We try not to too often, just so you guys don't get confused, but it is a thing we will do occasionally.
True
But
dat.
did you just make a true pun? I am so upset
Oh, it
and proud
pisses
of
her
you.
off so much, so I had to do it.
I'm so Anyways, moving right along from that. This one I found a little interesting, just because it was not exactly how I expected it, just by reading the article. So, or the title of the article, I should say. So, the title of the article says that 2 Riot employees leave under complicated circumstances after pack session excluding men. Now, I assumed there was some sort of crazy sexist, like, you know, down with the SJWs kind of shit going on. Just when I read that title article, but it turns out that apparently there's been a heavy history. I mean, not apparently. I think we all kind of knew that. We've heard that rumors before, that there's a heavy history of sexism within Riot Studios and a lot of big game studios, honestly. But in order to combat it, they had a PAX event where they excluded men, basically, and these 2 gentlemen were actually very supportive of it. They were big on it, and uh, essentially what Blizzard, or I'm sorry, not what Blizzard, what Riot told everybody was nobody respond to any of the, because we're gonna get we're gonna get clashback, we're gonna get hate, we're gonna get feedback. It's the internet. It's gonna happen. Just fucking suck it up and grin it, because that's what it is. And these 2 gentlemen decided to take it upon themselves and be the SJWs and start like responding to people and yelling at them for what they were saying and about this women's only thing and blah blah blah. And yeah, apparently they have been fired for that. So that's fun. Or willingly left, but pressured left.
No, it's
Well,
been
it's
confirmed that they were fired for violating the social media policy.
Yeah.
it's like the 2 couple weeks ago that worked for your MMO earlier.
Which one?
Fuck it.
I've been
Part
talking
2.
about so many MMOs.
We both played it.
Guild Wars 2?
Guild Wars 2?
Guild Wars 2. One of the story writers from that
Well, that
went
was a little
off
while
on
ago.
yeah, a few weeks back. It went
Yeah, I was
off on
gonna
that
say.
tangent about somebody making a suggestion about story type shit in the game, and she just loses out on them about them being privileged male, bullshit. And her and the other guy got fired.
To be fair, that was a little different. That was not like, that was somebody.
No, I'm saying it was the same kind of they both got fired for the whole
Yeah,
violating the
it's
company.
definitely there's some sort of head coming to all this gender relations tension within major gaming companies. You're seeing a lot more stories of that, of people reacting to that, or bursting out or breaking out or whatever.
Social media is not the place to handle that kind of shit. It's basically what it
Yeah,
comes down to.
I think really what companies need to do is give people somewhere to vent, or somehow something, even if they hire some sort of in studio counselor or something, so people can go and fucking vent about this shit, because clearly they're being beaten down by a community, by a vibe within the studios or whatever, and they don't feel they have anywhere to go, and then somebody comes at them from Twitter or whatever, and they just lose it, they just snap.
Yeah.
And clearly there's some sort of obviously concurrent issue going on that needs to be addressed. And I find it ironic that, I don't know if ironic's the right word, but I find it very interesting that it all seems to be coming right now majorly from MMO studios, and I wonder why that specifically seems to be the thing where it's, I mean, granted, I'm sure there's underlying tones of sexism within many gaming studios, but like where people are blowing up about it seems to be MMO studios, and I'm wondering if that's from the idea that MMO developers and stuff, because they're constantly working on the games, are reacting and communicating with the community more, or if it has something else more underlying to do with the community within those companies. I think that's an interesting thing to consider.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, I agree with you. It is definitely something they should consider. They should not take their grievances to Twitter or any other social media.
I think it's good advice for everybody, man. Just like that, any social media platform is not the place to have like real discourse about anything, right? It just evolves into shit.
Yeah.
To be,
totally
I don't
agree.
know if that's true in all situations. I think you're always going to have that outlier. I think you're going to have your social media people, your people who are literally just famous for being on social media, who sure can have those kinds of conversations there. But yes, as a general rule, especially if you're a representative of a much larger company, absolutely not the way to handle it. And
Yeah.
yes, I know it's tempting to, just because you have that direct option, you don't have to talk to anybody about it. You don't have to deal. It's just somebody says something, let's become a keyboard warrior about it. But
Well, and whether or not it's your private Twitter account, if you discuss business related shit on there, it becomes tied to your business life. And
yeah,
trying to say, well, this is a separate thing. If you discuss anything related to your business on there, it's not anymore.
Yeah.
unfortunately, not always that cut and dry. You guys want to sneak onto our break? We're about 5 minutes early, but I figure this next article, I know at least for Serial and I, it's probably going to take a little longer because we both played this game.
Works for me.
Sound good, guys? All right, guys, we're going to go
Yeah,
take
we'll go break.
about a 5-minute break. We will see you back in a few. Love each and every one of your faces, and toodaloos.
5 minutes, not 20.
Oh, well, damn it. I got waylaid at the
Well,
door.
I guess we're back now, because I didn't realize you guys were talking very loudly when I unmuted the Discord. Hi, everybody!
Oh, hi.
Hold on, let me make this full screen so the cameras are actually in the right location. There we go. They can hear us in the 8K screen. There we go. Hi, we're back, apparently. Slightly off schedule, because some albino fuck can't look at a clock. So
I got waylaid at the door. Fuck off.
Uh-huh. Yeah, let's be honest, you can't see the clock.
I was masturbating.
And it only took you that long?
I'm a quick.
That explains so
Okay.
much.
Yeah.
Explains why
As long
there's
as
so
I'm
many
satisfied,
crunchy
that's all
socks
that
around. Oh, let me turn on the music. Well, not turn it off, but turn it down. Yeah, apparently the music's not going to stay up, by the way, guys. Fun fact. I'm going to have to get a playlist started. Because if my mic's
lot
open
like you.
too long on Spotify, it automatically cuts it off on Discord. If I talk too long on
Full story.
Discord, it like automatically cuts it off, so it makes sure I'm not sending the music through. Which is annoying. But yeah, we're back. Hello, everybody. How are you, beautiful people? Yeah. So this next one, Serial, you and I are going to have some thoughts about this. I don't know how much experience you have with this game, Trick.
I have no experience with this game, so I got a feeling I'm going to be playing Devil's Advocate.
Well, no, I think Serial and I are both going to be on the same opinion that this was kind of a shitty thing to do. Cool idea, shitty execution. But, game Elite Dangerous. The amazing, just with so many minor details correct, space sim, with exploration and space combat and just trading and so many cool things you could do. Did kind of a misstep in my opinion recently. The players were making this big goal to explore a sector of space they were previously unable to do, but they found out that they could mount their ships into a larger ship, they could dock them within a larger ship, and the larger ship could make a jump to that section of space. Now, turns out, they didn't know this at the time, we didn't know this at the time, but it turns out that that section had already been sectioned off for a point of story in the future, and they didn't want to tell any of the players about that. So they allowed them to do it, basically. They just said, yeah, you can go ahead and do this. But turns out that they leaked the information that they knew it was going to happen, and they weren't going to let them do it early on, because a website had gotten hold of information about 12 hours early, if I remember correctly, that basically they released this article that said, this huge group, while making the attempt to jump to this sector of space, were attacked by the aliens. I can't remember. What's the alien's name again?
Thargoids.
Yeah, the Thargoids. They were attacked by the Thargoids on the way and were taken out and blah, blah, blah. And none of them survived, or none of them were able to make it to the space, yada, yada, yada. And they released it 12 hours early. So clearly showing that they knew exactly what was happening. But yeah, it's kind of frustrating because they let these people build up these giant ships and they drop all this money in this huge exploration the thing, and they basically told them that yeah, you can do it, you can go ahead, have fun, enjoy, explore this sector of space, and the whole time they were planning to not allow them to do it. Now, my question for you guys is, do you think they should have not allowed them to do it, or do you think it would have just been better if they had not accidentally, like, do you think if they hadn't accidentally leaked this article, that everybody would be more happy about this?
I think they should have been more upfront about whatever they were going to do, right? Instead of saying one thing and then doing another. Is the Frontier Software has a history of doing some great fucking things for their community and then turning around and shitting all over them. Like you go from loving them to hating them on a weekly basis, really.
Pretty much the only way to deal with Frontier Software.
Like, I have more hours in that game than I'd like to admit.
Oh, he does. We lost him. I want you guys to know. Me and him used to be an admin of an old community that's broken up, and we're not going to go into them anymore because we have our own history with that, and lots of drama happened there just because people turned out to be scumbags. But basically, me and him were both admins of said community, and I don't think I got to talk to Serial for like 3 to 4 months straight because every single day was spent exploring a new section of space, just fueling up and checking out the next area.
And
it is
if
a great
I had
game.
The time nowadays, I'd still probably be playing it, but I don't have that kind of time to invest.
I just got recently. I'm considering getting back into it because I got a not obviously at the level you were because I don't have that little of a life, but to an extent, I'm considering getting back into it because I picked up. Literally picked up off the ground somewhere. While I was coming home from work one day, a full Logitech 3D Flight Pro controller flight stick.
Oh, nice.
It was literally somebody was tossing it out. It was like next to their garbage, and I was like, really? And I leaned over and I was like, are you guys throwing this out? And they're like, yeah, that was our son's. He doesn't want it anymore. We're just tossing it. I was like, can I have it? I'm like, yeah, sure. I was like, yes, thank you. So I have a full stick.
And it's USB as well?
Well, yeah, it's USB. Not old Serial or anything like that. No. Not old RS-232.
See what you did there.
Hey.
I had some really, really nice flight sticks, but they were all gamepad port style ones. And then I spent like $250 on my one that I was using for Elite. And
is it still sitting there, or did you sell it off?
Oh no, I still have it. And someday I'm gonna buy a second one because if there's anything better than flying your spaceship with a fucking flight stick, it's flying it with 2 of them.
Oh, you just mean 2? Yeah. Okay. I thought you meant like you had the full flight yoke and everything with the.
No, just a stick.
Okay.
It's a super like nice SATEC programmable fucking.
For $200, you just got that stick? God damn! I feel like you should have gotten the extra yoke.
It's
and
the same stick that they use to model the stick that's in the ship in game.
I know which one you're talking about. I see it on the Elite Dangerous Reddit, but
so nice.
I just assumed because isn't there an edition with both of them?
Now, damn it!
Hey, Serial, after stream, I have it installed.
Lost in space for the next I don't, so it'll be 6 years before I can play it.
It's not that big. It's literally less than 20 gigs. Well, I don't have the expansions. So.
Oh, I do.
I don't have Horizon Dawn. I think it is, right?
Horizon Dawn is a different game, but it's called Horizon. You're close.
There's Horizon in there somewhere. Okay, listen, don't you fucks with my head.
Horizon Zero Dawn was what I think you were kind of going for there too, but you know. Elite Dangerous doesn't have a sexy little redheaded girl in it. And
today we learned that Serial likes little girls with red hair. Everybody. I want to see some Twitch reports. His account is right down there at the bottom. RS-232 Killer.
We'll never see any cookie clicker ever again.
I know. So many people will be heartbroken. So
All
many
6 of
people.
them.
All 6 of them.
Not even.
Come on, you're inflating your numbers. It's more like 3.
Yeah. And 3 of them are him. It's just him logging in from everything.
Bot army.
He just keeps loading in different private windows and logging in from different accounts.
I love Cookie Clicker.
Me too. Why are you not clicking anything while your bots are saying that? Don't ask.
Concentrating.
But yeah, it was kind of shitty, I will say. As I mean, I wasn't playing it. I've recently re-downloaded it and I'm looking to get back into it, but I have not like started to get back into it because I know it will get sucked into that because it is a lot of fun. But just I'm glad I wasn't involved in that. Like I wasn't heavily involved in the game. I got to experience that. Like there's a quote here saying, "It's even worse to know now that they never had any intention of allowing us to jump into Cone, which is the section of space we're talking about, and that thousands of commanders spent thousands of hours working to plan for the event. That really is a lead at the lowest point I've seen in my 2 years, 3,800 hours, and 15,000 subscribers. It's very, very sad. A lot of people were very, very upset by this. And I question whether it was just the fact that they were never going to be allowed to do it, or the fact that they weren't allowed to do it, and it got leaked out.
No, it's really the fact of they were allowed to try it, but failed.
They were
It's
allowed
really
to
what
plan
it breaks
for it,
down.
really. Honestly, that was the
All
thing.
that build up just wasted, right?
Well, because
Yeah.
they spent like a lot of people spent a lot of in-game money converting their
Yeah,
ships
grind
over
out
to
those
exploration and stuff like that. And yeah, instead of being like battles, they were like, oh, let's go completely convert our ship over. Let's make it an exploration ship. Let's have all this extra stuff, all these extra fuel banks, whatever it might be, so we can go into deep space and explore. And
Well, to
instead,
outfit those big ships, you got to fly over hell and back to get the parts.
Yeah,
Like,
you
it's
do.
a lot of time investments.
But sort of here's my question: would you have rather the developers learned of this plan and immediately go no and stonewall them, or have them try to jump into that sector of space, get encountered by things that are known in lore to be there, have a great big huge battle, and then remember it as that a failed expedition?
I would have
Except
said
they
they,
knew it
should have just said
beforehand.
no and stonewalled from the
Yeah.
get-go.
for that kind of game, I would have said that too, because you're talking like Eve levels of like time spent building up for this one event. This is an Eve build up for war, essentially, is what it is. And I mean, I might sound like an over dramatization because the amount of people were probably not on the same level as Eve, where you're talking about like hundreds of thousands on each side, but it really was. It was people spending that kind of time dedicating to traveling back and forth, getting parts to change their ship up, upgrade their ship, outfit, fuel up these massive cruisers. Like, I would have rather just been told, hey, this is impossible. Don't spend the next 3 weeks of your life working on it.
Or even if they would have said, oh, we have an event that's going to go on there, whatever. It's not like they haven't had a million Thargoid related events, right? So it's not like it was this huge thing that was getting spoiled. Like,
They've been hinting at all sorts of Thargoid stuff for years. I mean,
well, the Thargoids have been there now for months now, at least.
No, I
almost
know.
a year. Like, it's been a thing. So
but I mean,
they've
they've been a threat, especially when you're talking about going out towards the cone in that sector for a long time. There's been hints and even before they were really revealed as an alien species within the game, there were hints that they were a thing. So if you know it's a thing,
there was hints from the original game they were a thing.
Yeah, no,
back
I know.
In the 80s. So I mean.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
They've been
I'm
around
talking
for a
about
while.
this Elite Dangerous, not the original Elite Dangerous.
It's a continuation, man.
Shut the fuck up, Cyril. It's a shut the fuck up, Cyril, is what it is. As I told you, this one would go on for a while. Cyril and I have opinions.
I just want to play Elite Dangerous now. Damn it.
So, after
I don't have time for that.
get it
shit.
downloaded. Start
Would
it
you
up,
like,
buddy.
I'll just call tomorrow, quit my job, be like, sorry. I
Just
got
get it
Elite
started,
Dangerous, I
download
need
it,
to
and we'll
do
load it up sometime.
But I don't have the time to dedicate to that shit.
Well, you don't have to lose yourself for 3 fucking months in a row again. You can space it out, Cyril. I know, it's a crazy
Moderation
concept,
sucks.
but you can play games in moderation.
It's worth doing, it's worth overdoing.
I know, that's where I am at with Guild Wars recently. It's like every night I'm up until like 6 in the morning, and then I sleep for 3 hours, and then go do the shit I have to do, and then I come home and nap until I have to do something at night. Really, I'm awful at that, especially with MMOs and stuff, which Elite Dangerous sort of is. Ish.
Yeah.
I don't know, Elite Dangerous is always in a weird classification, because it is technically an MMO, but like server-based MMO, but like not like servers like, you know, WoW has, where it's like, oh, you have this server, you have that server. It's like somebody makes a server and then it gets really big, and it's super confusing.
Well, that it has quests, but they're kind of like randomly generated quests, and they're all the same. But
Deliver
Yeah.
drugs and/or slaves. Usually where it goes.
or go take some passengers for a tour of the galaxy, bullshit like that.
You know what I'm very upset about, and this is totally off tangent, but I'm very upset that you can't take said passengers and convert them into slaves. Like in your thing, just have like an internal rebellion.
You can jettison them, however.
I know you
So
can
that's
just
one
set them into space, but I wish you could take them and just like force them into a cargo hold and make them into slaves. That would be a great mission. It's like somebody like sends you like a like an interspace communication and offers you more money if you like convert all those like fancy people into slaves. That would be cool. Sorry, it's just an idea that's always been in my head every time I do like a travel mission. I'm like, but can I slave them? Because slaves are worth more money in certain districts around here. But yeah. Anyway, yeah, I knew that one was gonna take a while. That one took us like 15 minutes on that one article. We have opinions on that. Serial, I knew would, because he was obsessed with that game for years. So I know that
Still
at
got
least one of our viewers is gonna be very excited about this new one. But the creators of, now I have played both of these games in small chunks. But the creative design studios behind, I always get this wrong, Danganronpa is how he says it in the title screen for it, because one of my viewers has actually shared their Steam library with me, and I've had a chance to play it on stream a little bit. And Zero Escape, which is very fun. I played a little bit of Zero Escape on the PSP. I believe it's actually been released to a lot more things now, but originally it was just on the Vita. And it was a very interesting visual novel style, like horror survival game, like where as you went through it, you could either have like everybody survive or like get everybody killed off and just be the last kind of person. And there was like different endings and stuff like that. But like not just visual novel, make choice A, make choice B. It was like depending on what you investigated and what evidence you presented, and like solving puzzles and stuff like that. And apparently they're teaming up. Now, if you know anything about Danganronpa, it's kind of a similar experience. Not exactly, but a similar experience. And they're teaming up and making a brand new studio with a brand new game. And that's pretty cool, honestly. If you're a big fan of those visual novel games, but you like a little bit something more out of your visual novel than cheesy romantic subplot and or hentai, this is the way to go.
So like Telltale, but with a little more going on.
Yes. Speaking of Telltale, I really want to get that, totally side note, not even an article whatsoever, but they have their very badly named one-day bundle right now, which is not a one-day
Yeah, I
bundle.
thought I saw that today, and I was like, and it's like, oh, it ends on fucking.
Oh yeah, it has the
September
counter up
12th or
top, and it's
something,
like,
and I'm like-
one-day bundle, 13 days remaining, and I was like,
Yeah,
the fuck?
like, oh well, one day I'll buy it.
But yeah, they have the full Guardians of the Galaxy Telltale series on there, which I'm kind of looking at.
Wonder if it's any better than the movie, because the movie was boring.
Which one?
The first one.
I love Guardians of the Galaxy. What's wrong with you?
It was just meh. It was all right, I guess.
Such a good. I mean, the second one was better, but
I was like, I sat down to watch it. It was like all excited. Everyone talked like it's such a great movie, and it was just, it was all right.
I mean, I think that might have been more one of those build up, ruin the movie, for you
Overhyped kind of
things.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if you had gone like me, like I saw it within the first week, and I really had no idea what to expect. I had looked up a little bit about the Guardians of the Galaxy lore, like from Marvel stuff, and that was it. So it was just like, this could be good, but some of these superheroes seem really lame. And I left the theater just being like, that was so much better than I expected. Like that.
Well, I
was
think there's
great.
like a lot of people really like the music in it, and I was just kind of the same way with the music that it like, meh, it's all right.
I mean, I liked How do you not like the music? That seems like your fucking music.
It should be, right? But it was just all of it was just
I know
music.
exactly why. It was all too happy.
Yeah, that's probably it.
He doesn't even deny it. He knows I'm right.
Totally not listening to depressing shit right this moment.
I fucking doubt it.
Fucking Ozzy Osbourne, Diary of a Madman.
It's a good tune.
It's a good tune, but it's definitely not a happy tune.
Is it bad whenever I need to calm down? I listen to like death metal.
See, and so that's me. I'm like, the depressing shit makes me so happy.
I mean, death metal I wouldn't call depressing shit. I would call it loud energetic
No.
shit.
But I'm saying it's the whole exact opposite.
You listen to
thing.
like incredibly depressing like fucking Pearl Jam and shit like that.
Yeah.
Like
Good
I would be playing like really sweet classic rock, like good like music, in like Plug DJ when we used to do Mindless Banter, and then all of a sudden he would come on and be like, Cyril, I want to commit suicide halfway through this. Could we not, please? Could we not? Our viewers are gonna want to commit suicide. It was bad. Anyway, moving away from the suicide and Cyril's really shitty taste in music. Xbox. I found this interesting. To quell the inner stereotype within you, Xbox is releasing a grease-proof Xbox One controller to keep your controller feeling fresh. It looks so uncomfortable, though. I gotta say, like, I don't want to touch that controller.
The shine.
Yeah,
alone.
it's like super. It's like very glossy. It's like high gloss.
Can I just give a tip? Wash your fucking hands.
Just have a paper towel in there if you're eating something sticky or whatever. Just clean it
I
up.
know you got a box of tissues right there, anyways, right? So
Moist towel.
Yeah, get those those hand wipes or whatever. You're great.
Yeah, the moist towelettes are.
I mean, to be fair, if I know I'm gonna be eating while I'm fucking gaming, I usually pick something that's not greasy intentionally.
Yeah.
Or I pause and I watch something on YouTube while I eat the greasy thing, and then I go wash my hands, and then I come back and I play.
I
Not
got
a
really anal
difficult-
about it because my last
I'm sure you had a
keyboard
lot
was
of anal. Yes,
greasy
continue.
fucking mess, and I was just like, no, I'm not doing that this
Your
time.
anus
Like,
was a
it
greasy
just-
fucking mess? That's
yeah.
unfortunate for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I heard
Dick.
about. That's me. I think it's an interesting concept. I think it's the ugliest controller. I'm actually going to, I don't usually do this, but just so you guys get a picture, at least for those of you watching in the live stream, what it looks like. You can see that high gloss sheen. I'm going to turn on the main monitor. Oh god.
Showing his penis.
Listen, okay, if I was showing my penis, I would be charging a lot more to watch this. But yes, here is the grease-proof thing, and it just looks so ugly. Maybe it has something to do with the fact that it's got that gray-yellow PUBG skin, but like that combined with the matteness, it is like the ultimate stereotype of just like garish, you know, cheesy, gaudy fucking material. Not a great
Well,
look.
if it's anything like the fucking Elite controller, they're not very good at putting rubberized stuff on shit anyways, because it just falls off.
Yeah, it's just not great. I mean, I'm not a big fan of, you know, PUBG anyway, so maybe I'm even less inclined towards it. But if you disagree as well, Trick, and I know you're not,
Yeah.
you look kind of like PUBG, so.
PUBG is a good game, but that controller doesn't look good. It's like the super high gloss finish makes it look greasy already.
Yeah, it's already got that look like you slathered some fucking chicken wings on your hand.
You know what's
And,
gonna happen to it in like 20 years is it's gonna turn into, I don't know if you've seen videos about the Gizmondo. It's like
I know what the Gizmondo is.
pile of fucking goo.
I have played a
after, like,
Gizmondo. Oh, well, no, it's not that. Gizmondo turned into a pile of fucking goo because it had that weird rubberized.
rubberized.
Yeah, it
shit,
had that weird
yeah.
rubberized shit from the 90s and the early 2000s that was all the rage for a while. And nobody
That's what's
thought
gonna
about the
happen to that
longevity.
controller.
I don't think so, because that looks like it's just got high gloss and fucking lacquer on it, really. But, yes, similarly, it's going to look just as shit, because it already looks just as shit. It's just not going to
Like a
decay into
taco?
that. I want a taco now. Oh, Serial, you're gonna be excited about this one.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
He doesn't even know you that well. He already understands. I'm so proud, Trick. So Steam has released and allowed, although apparently it has been banned in 28 countries, their first fully adult-only nude visual novel game called Negligee Love Stories, or Negligee, I should say, Love Stories, and it's the first fully explicit adult game. Basically, there is straight up some anime titty porn going on in this game, and you can buy it if you want, and you are in one of those not 28 states or countries.
I only
should
have
say.
one question.
No.
Can I fuck pigeons?
No.
It is not Hatoful Birds. I don't think Hatoful Birds has an X-rated version, although I would play that just to see that experience.
Or a tank?
I have played Hatoful Birds on stream before. You know what I really want to play on stream?
Hatoful Boyfriend?
Hatoful Boyfriend, sorry. But there's birds in it, so you can see my fucking confusion. You know what I really want to play? Which sounds weird, but because I know so many of the people who worked on it, it sounds weird if you don't know the game contextually. But I really want to play fucking Dream Daddy so badly. Because a lot of people from like the Game Grumps and other big YouTuber channels that I know, like Markiplier and stuff, like did work on it and things like that. And I really like those guys and the content they create and things like that. So I really want to play the game because it's just silly and fucking over the top. You're not actually just trying to go fuck a dad. It's just like this ridiculous game.
Like John Cena High School.
John Cena!
Oh.
I think there's room in the world for more porn games.
I mean, I don't have
That's
any
what
problem
VR
with
is
porn
for.
games. There's a lot of porn games. There's always going to be porn games. I'm just glad that Steam is finally taking the steps to allow them on their thing. Like, granted, obviously, put protections, put warnings, allow people to not see those. But the fact that Steam was allowing up to a certain level of content, and then, as we talked about in our first episode, just started removing stuff and sending out warnings and doing all this shady, shifty shit. And we're like going back on what they were already saying, because they had, most of these companies had sent full file or folders filled with all the pictures that were actually in the game, and the text was just overlaying and stuff like that. But I think it's good that Steam is sticking to their word and just giving people. Granted, I'm not going to be buying porn games. I buy games that I can stream. And listen, if I want to go watch porn, it's free on the internet. I don't need to buy a game for it. But I think it's good that Steam is expanding that option out and giving their viewers, and not trying to censor their viewers in the way that it seemed like they were a couple weeks ago. That was very frustrating to me. As a fan of open media and open speech and stuff like that, this is a good step in the right direction. Granted, I'm never going to use this stuff, but the fact that option is out there, and I know there's obviously a market for it, and now that it's on Steam, people are probably going to buy it more. I think it's a good thing.
I mean, if they're gonna allow games that don't even have an executable on Steam, they should allow anything on Steam. I mean, that's what it comes down to. Either do quality control or fucking don't.
Quality control?
Oh, jeez.
That one.
Yeah, you walked in that one with both eyes open. But I'm
Still
glad.
doesn't have any fucking good, but
Fair enough. I am glad that they're putting games. There is a market for stuff like this. They're putting this game, which is fully adult, includes nudity and various adult themes, on their platform, and put it in an adult-only section in the store, so you can't just find it by chance, is definitely a good thing.
That's the funny part I always thought about this when they were talking about not allowing or like being very particular about their adult only thing, is that they won't get rid of, and I understand for legal reasons why they won't but they won't get rid of that fucking confirm your age every time you look at a game, but they still won't allow adult content on there, so what's the fucking point? That's the thing I always got like as a contradiction in my head.
Oh, like when I go onto the store page for Skyrim, as an example, I am well over the age of majority, and I'm logged into my account on Steam, which has my age, but I still have to go every single time
Again,
to confirm my age.
I understand why they do it. There's certain regulations in the states, obviously where Steam is based, that require them to confirm it because if a kid gets on your computer or what have you, kind of thing. Not that kid's probably going to be honest if he's going to look for those games anyway, but you know what I mean. They're in a legal, a safe zone. They're protected. They can show that you confirmed in this specific instance that you were this age, and that is not their fault. But yes, it's still very annoying as a user who is clearly much overage for that.
Since we're talking about shit Steam doesn't remember, fuck, man. The whole thing, like, when you log into Steam on your browser, and there's that little checkbox that says, remember me on this computer or this browser, whatever. Does that work for you? Because every fucking time I go to log into Steam in the browser, I have to go and get my authenticator fucking code.
If you have a two-factor authentication, it doesn't work, no. Two-factor authentication overrides that.
Don't give me the checkbox, god damn it.
Well, they don't know that you have two-factor authentication before you log in.
No, because it never worked for me even prior to the two-factor shit. It would never remember me on Chrome.
I can say it had, well, I don't use Chrome, I use Firefox, but I can say it used to work for me for sure before I put the two-factor authentication. Then somebody tried to hack my account, and I put it on there.
All right, segue.
Segway! This is not a segue, but I am actually kind of excited for this one, despite all the other fucking minis that have existed until now. Even with the N64 mini and everything coming out, PlayStation, or should I say Sony, has announced the, really just the announcement. They haven't really gone into full detail. They haven't announced all the games. They've announced a few games that are coming out, but they're coming out with the PlayStation Classic, which is obviously just an Android fucking board on a miniaturized PlayStation shell with a controller plugged into a fake USB kind of plug. But it's got Final Fantasy VII on it, which is great.
I'm going to be required by law to fucking buy it because I have to buy that game every platform it ever fucking comes out on.
See, the funny thing is, that's not what I'm most excited about.
So it's got Final Fantasy VII, Wild Arms.
That's what I'm most excited 3, about.
Jumping Clash and Ridge Racer Type 4. But those two, Wild Arms, Final Fantasy VII.
Excuse me, hold on. We have to go back for a second. Say Ridge Racer again, but say it properly.
Ridge Racer Type 4?
Ridge Racer!
Thank you. It's gonna be Ridge Racer! They never say it normally. They scream it out. Oh my god, it's notorious because it was definitely designed as an arcade game that came to home port, but they never lost that arcade feeling. So every time you turned on the power button, the first thing you hear was Ridge Racer in your ear, and you were just pumped up, like you were just sat up on a Hydro Thunder cabinet in the arcade or whatever. Like it was that kind of vibe. That's why Ridge Racer has such a place in so many people's hearts.
Yeah, I'll probably buy one.
I don't know if I necessarily will, because I can emulate most of these on different machines that I'm already working on, but I'm very excited about it.
The price point. It's $100 US.
But it comes with 2 controllers.
Yeah, it comes with 2 controllers.
I wonder if the cards are going to be 3 feet long.
2 non-DualShock controllers, let me point that out. Pre-DualShock.
I mean, none of those games
it's a classic controller.
Yeah. I wonder if they're going to be USB, though. That would be cool if you could use them on other shit.
You know what I would be interested in? Because I know they have the port technology from the PS2. I wonder if you could just plug in the controllers from the other machines.
I guess that'll all just depend on if they go USB or the old.
Well, I mean, it could just be a configured USB where obviously it looks like the PlayStation with the things extended out. But here's hoping, because I would think it would be nice if you could plug in. No, they're
way too small. Looking at the image. It's way too small for you to actually plug in an actual controller.
They said it was 50% the size or 40%, something like that, the size of the original.
I'll have to compare them. I have an original downstairs.
I have an original right in my closet over here. It's half taken apart because it was supposed to be painted, and I got too lazy to do that. But it is half taken apart.
The newer, smaller ones that came out, the PS1.
Oh, the PS, with the actual one, not the number one.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the originals got classified as the PSX.
Yeah. Well, the PS1 was supposed to be
the mini one. The mini one was the PS1.
It was supposed to be sold. Really, it was kind of designed to be sold with that flip up screen that became
I
all the
have that
rage.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most people do. It was really the reason it was developed, so you could like pop it into a car or whatever, or pop it with you and just play some PlayStation 1. And honestly, I think I have one of those sitting around in my storage facility as well now too, because I remember at the end of like Circuit City's area, they were just selling them off for like $10, not even. I think
that's
picked
how I
one.
bought one. They're cheap.
I mean, yeah, it's just like at that point they were just getting rid of them.
It's
They were
like when I bought the Virtual Boy and it was like $9 or something like that.
I'm sure if you had saved that, you could have made some more money now.
Yeah, no shit, huh?
You
I'd
had
say
like
so.
$10.
Shelves of them. Like you could just like go into the store when they fucking discontinue that thing and just buy a fucking pallet of them for $50.
Of what?
Virtual Boys.
Oh yeah. It was like, oh my god, I was like that with Guitar Hero. I was so bad with that. When Circuit City closed down, I bought like a bunch of them because it was literally, I think if I remember correctly, it was $350 for the entire sets for the systems that were out at the time. So I bought a whole bunch of them and I sold them off on eBay. And I think I used that to buy my PS3 at the time.
I would have just had a party where everyone could smash their guitar after every song.
Yeah! Except I don't want to clean up that plastic. Fuck that. I'm way too lazy. I'm already drunk at the end of the party. I don't want to have to clean up after other people. Alrighty. Well, let's move on. Trick, you don't have a Switch, do you?
I do not have a Switch.
Well, this is going to be more interesting for Cyril and I apologize. I feel like our articles are kind of geared towards us, and it's not intentional. I'm just picking stuff that looks super interesting. Honestly, I apologize, by the way. I want to apologize to any viewers or listeners that our articles are a little weak this week. I guess is the best way to put that. Because a lot of things that got announced in games news were game trailers from Gamescom or the Nintendo Direct recently. And I don't like to show trailers on here because A, if you're listening, you guys won't be able to see those. And B, we can get hit with content copyright claims. And that's neither something I want to risk. We might in the future upload that to a site or a blog or something. I have something in the works with somebody, which I'm not going to go into. I have to talk to my two people about that, but there may be a site in the future where you can take a look at things like that. But I apologize. A lot of the news is all over the place. It's from the past couple of weeks, and we just kind of went with what was the most interesting that we could show and talk about without having to actually physically show you a video and, sit there and stare at a screen and wait for them to catch up with the delay on kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I found this kind of interesting and upsetting for me as an American with the Switch. But apparently the Switch in Japan is now emulating, or not emulating, but it is streaming parts of the games that is too powerful for it to run. So games like the new Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I believe, are coming to the Switch over in Japan, which will not be coming out here because they have a service where it streams part of the stuff off to the internet and handles all that and renders it and sends it back, which I think is really cool. I don't know if it really fits a system as a Switch, which is trying to be that mixture of portable and your home console kind of thing. But I think it's an interesting concept. What do you guys think? You guys think it would do well here? It wouldn't work as well here?
I think the Switch is more of a portable system. Yeah, most people play it undocked, right? Like, and having to be tethered to a decent internet connection, at least in this country, it's not portable at that point. So
to be fair, we're like 3,000 times the size of the other country. We don't have the same kind of coverage.
Right. Well, our broadband isn't, as good as it is over there. So,
I also think it would not do well. Yeah, it's from what I can read of the article, it's a Netflix-like game streaming service. So doing it on Wi-Fi, and even doing it on Wi-Fi as an example would slow down your speed of your gameplay immensely, depending on your own Wi-Fi connection.
It doesn't slow down as much as you would think, because I can say I used to use the service on my netbook of all things. Ironically enough, which I also got from Circuit City when they were closing for about $50. This is around the period where netbooks were all the rage, and everybody wanted to have the ultra portable laptop, not like the really thin one, but the really small one. And I used to use what was it called? Had like an orange logo.
That service, the game streaming service that was available for a while.
Yeah, I used to use that, and it actually worked pretty well. I could hook up my PlayStation controller to it, and I could
Sony
play
does it
games.
now.
Yeah, well, yeah, they have PS Now as well, but I don't.
Yeah, PS.
I think PS Now requires a higher requirement on your actual machine. It helps the rendering on your machine.
But I mean, like they do it to the PlayStation as well, right? So like the online stuff is there for it. Well, in fact, you look at the Nvidia's doing it too with the Shield.
Yeah, that's not wrong. Even Steam is just allowing it now with everything, because now they've opened their Steam in home, at least in home, I should say. I can't say they're doing it all over. Although I know there have been talks about it. They have mentioned it in some blogs and stuff like that. There have been questions about it, and I know they've looked into it. They've never announced anything that they're going to do with it. They've never said, hey, it works or doesn't work, but they have discussed it. And I think it could work. I think it's just, honestly, personally, I think it would work very well here. I think there's just the issue of us, and I think this kind of goes down to what you both said, actually, is we perceive it as a portable console that you can plug it in. And I think in Japan, it's really because Nintendo is like their flagship boy. I think it's really kind of has this perspective as the home console that you happen to be able to take with you. And I think it's a matter of flipped perspectives. Where
I say it as a person, I almost exclusively play my Switch docked.
I do too,
but
honestly,
I know
rarely
most
play
people
mine.
will use it on the go.
Yeah, that's the thing. I know people do. I have pulled it out and used it on the go, but I usually use a dock because it renders better with when plugged into the dock and stuff, and it's bigger and more beautiful and etc. etc. I can see my tiny the tiny Korok shit in Zelda, and not have to worry about it when I'm full screen instead of like, what is that? Is that anything? No. Okay, bye. And then it should be like, oh, I missed something. But I think it's really a matter of perspective. I would be interested to see how it does. I would love to see some metric numbers on gameplay, like once Assassin's Creed Origins comes, or not Origins already out. Odyssey comes out over there on the Switch. I would love to see what the metrics are, starting out, 3 weeks in, 6 weeks in, a couple months in, etc. Like a couple of staggering points and seeing who's playing what, how often it's going, what the bandwidth usage is, and if they're maintaining a connection to the servers or whatever it is that are running. Well, I mean, it would be a server box that is running this game. And I would love to see where it goes, because I think it could be expanded out. I think there would have to be a perception change in the United States for that, but I think it could be a thing. And I would love to see some more powerful hardware, because I know I have, I didn't put this in here. I think, actually, nope, okay. I thought maybe Trick had, but it was a different article he had put about that same game. I know there are already game companies, there are developers who are having to make large-scale shortcuts for games because they just can't handle them on the Switch. Like Fortnite has just recently had to cut out, they're working on their Switch port, and you can't even use the built-in game recording software, which is one of the major draws that you can literally just major draws depending on who you are, but you can just button record a clip and shoot it out to Twitter or shoot it out to your YouTube or what have you and upload it directly from there. It's like they're having to cut out major, literally, features so integral to the console that they have their own button.
Well, they already came out and said with the new Xbox, right, there's going to be 2 versions. There's going to be one that basically just solely does this streaming thing, and then one that has the hardware on board to process it locally. So, I mean, it's...
Have they really? I haven't actually seen that article, no.
Yeah, the next generation. They're going to have two major versions. And
it's interesting.
It wouldn't surprise me to see Sony doing the same thing. Like, it just seems to be where things are going.
We're entering this really weird portion. It's where you're not technically in ownership of all your games. Your games are up on this cloud, and you're really essentially, if you buy anything on Steam, you never own the game. You own a lease on a license to the game that exists as long as they have access to that license, basically.
Right.
And we're entering this weird period where that's kind of being the norm, and it's extending out to all sorts of platforms. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. We'll see where it goes.
It makes archiving that shit for the future hard.
Oh yeah, I know.
Because
before you're dependent on at this point, unfortunately, you're dependent on, your hardware, your hackers and your homebrewers and stuff like that,
Right.
who are getting access to the files that it is downloading and archiving them somewhere in some sort of database and hoping it doesn't get shut down. Hoping against hope, as far as Nintendo goes. Speaking of Switch, let's segue over to the next thing. Let's talk about some new ports and games that are coming out for the Switch, which some of them are very exciting to me, especially one in particular, which I'm sure Serial, as he scrolls through, we'll see.
Super Mario U.
One down.
And Luigi's Mansion 3.
No, that's
Who I was stoked for.
Luigi's Mansion 3 looks out. Although I never played Luigi's Mansion 2, so I haven't. Somebody stole my 3DS, so I never really got a chance to play it, unfortunately. But I would like to play
Fantasy 7. Oh, I gotta buy it there too.
You're being a dick, and I know what you're doing. Everybody knows, if you've ever seen me or heard me stream, that I am a giant Katamari Damacy fan, or Damacy fan.
I forgot about this actually,
Yeah.
honestly, and I was so happy when I watched the direct.
Katamari Damacy is getting a complete remaster. It's called Katamari Damacy Remo. It's a remaster of the original one on the PlayStation 2, and I am so excited that it's getting a remaster on Switch. But
Dude, the Switch is a great place for that game.
Oh yeah, oh it's such a good place, and it was the first one, so you're not dealing with any of those Vita controls or anything like that. But although you could make those work on Switch, obviously, at least half of them. But we've also got new games coming out. We got the new Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. We have Cities Skylines, which I'll be interested to see how it works. I think that game could work really well if they integrated touchscreen controls.
Yeah, maybe with touchscreen, with a controller, which is
That's what I'm saying. You have to have touchscreen controls. I think it could. That's why I'm saying I'm interested. I'm not saying I'm excited for it. I'm interested to see where it goes. If they implement it well, it could be a very good seller for them. Otherwise, I think it's going to fall by the wayside. People are going to forget about it. We've got a Settlers of Catan and a Munchkin game. If you're a big board game fan, that'll be a great thing, especially if they're multiplayer. That kind of party thing you can plug into your friend's computer, your friend's
Those
TV.
guys announced a ton of board games coming out on the Switch too. They announced like 3 that were coming out right away, I think, and then a bunch of other ones. Most of that company's IP is going on the Switch.
Oh, they're really interesting.
Yeah.
I know Catan was on the PC. I have the Catan game. I got it from one of the tabletop Humble Bundle games, and it's weak. It doesn't do multiplayer very well unless you're local, and it had some things. And so I'd be interested, especially to see something like a party kind of console like that, where you can bring it and plug it in somewhere. Especially now that Mad Catz and everybody are coming out with things where you can just plug a little tiny dock and plug it into a TV. You don't have to bring the whole big thing around with you. I think it could go really well. I'll be interested to see where it goes. It's definitely an up in the air kind of thing.
This wasn't on the direct, and it's been out for a little while. But you know what? It came out on the Switch.
What's up?
World of Goo. Did you play that back in the day?
I have played World of Goo, not on the Switch, but yes.
Yeah, it came out on the Switch.
World of Goo is a lot of fun. If you guys have not played World of Goo, I highly recommend it. It's a little puzzle game where you build. It's like a bridge builder meets like puzzle game, like color puzzle game, where you have different goos that do different things, and you have to like extend them out and like attach them with different like connections and stuff like that. It's a really interesting game, honestly. I can't say anything bad about it. I used to play it even on my netbook, and that thing ran beautifully, and was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No DRM on it either, so they said that 80% of the people that played a pirated version of it.
I mean, I have a physical copy of it. I got it at a Big Lots near me. So I was not. I mean, I might have been counted as it because I think I literally dumped it into my Steam or something like that. But anyway, moving along, we got Civ 6 also coming to this Switch, which I think is kind of honestly a good way to handle Civ, because as a game that goes on that long, is a good thing to have portable and just pull out and play, 4 or 5 rounds or whatever, and stick it back in your bag or whatever while you wait for something.
Dude, local like turn-based shit would be pretty fun on there too, I think. Like if you could just hand it back and forth.
Yeah.
I feel like you would have to spend a lot of time right next to one of your good friends to do that, though. Here's what it is, though. The world of Final Fantasy Maxima. I don't know a whole lot about this, but apparently it's a very chibi-ized version of a lot of your Final Fantasy characters from different games. I'm not super familiar with this world. Do either of you guys know anything about it?
I have no idea.
They announced a whole heap of Final Fantasy shit at the direct. So.
Well, yeah, they did, but I believe this one, if I remember correctly, was a PS4 thing. So I don't really know a ton about it, but speaking of Final Fantasy stuff, they announced a whole ton of stuff. I'd be interested in this one because I never got a chance to play it, but they're coming out with a new Chocobo Mystery Dungeon game, which is a huge series over in Japan. There's only been one or two out over here, and I think they were kind of very they were ignored, I should say. They were bad games. I think they got decent reviews, but like nobody paid attention to them. They didn't get like advertisements or stuff, so they just kind of got over most people's heads. So that also got announced for the Switch in the latest Nintendo Direct. I'd be interested to check that one out. And then, as I'm sure many of you know, a lot of Final Fantasy ports also got announced. Final Fantasy XII: The Zodiac Age, which is a remaster of Final Fantasy XII, which I think is a beautiful game and has a great story. I think the combat is god-awful, but I still think it's a good game. And then you got Final Fantasy VII. You got Final Fantasy IX because they skipped Final Fantasy VIII because apparently they hate Final Fantasy VIII, and a lot of people do too online, from what I read. Although, ironically enough, they ported over 10 and 10-2. 10-2, yeah, over 8. We just point that out.
Yeah. I'm immediately disappointed.
What was the guy's name in 8? Who's the main dude?
Squall.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Squall Lionheart.
Yeah. We just point out that they pick the one where the main heroine, who was a giant priest, became a singing pop star with her two girl buddies and sing in a giant arena at the beginning of the game and have nothing but a giant love arc with the character who's clearly dead from the last game.
He's not dead. He was a dream. He didn't even exist to begin with.
He was clearly dead. But they imply that he was dead, and remember they have faked him, and it was not a good game, and they picked that. I mean, to be fair, they picked that because they had already remastered it. I'm sure it was an easy port, but I'm still frustrated because I know 8 was already on PC and PS4, and it wouldn't have been that hard to port it over. It's on fucking Android, man. You can port it there, port it anywhere.
What's your favorite Final Fantasy game there, Max?
6.
6?
6.
Good choice.
It's a good choice, man. No, dude, nobody's gonna beat Kefka. I'm sorry.
I'm 7 all the way. I know it's not the popular fucking opinion.
Oh no, it is the popular opinion.
Well, that's what I mean. It's unpopular due to the fact that it's popular.
It's the popular opinion among the general populace, the very sophisticated gaming nerds.
And I've played most of them, but I still really like 7. And it's because
7
of the time in my life that I played it, and it's all, rose-tinted glasses and all that.
That's what I'm saying. 7 hit a lot of people in that perfect time of nostalgia.
Yeah.
So, and it was not only did it hit a lot of people in that perfect time of nostalgia, it hit people in that time, and it was a moment of change in the series. It was a large moment. So if you were going through a change, which most of us, honestly, most of us gamers, unless you're very old or very young, we're going through some sort of major change in our personality. We were changing from high school or middle school or into college or whatever it might be, and because it was such a dramatic shift from the games before, it sticks out in a lot of people's memories. And I still love 7. 7 has a very dear place in my heart, but I'm going back from a purely, just literal view, hasn't held up the best in a lot of instances. Still a great game, don't get me wrong, but would not say it was the best Final Fantasy.
I'll give you that. When I have gone back to replay it, it's not.
It's certain things you're just oh, this is how that happened, right?
Yeah. See, my favorite Final Fantasy game is actually 8.
Oh, so you must be extra disappointed about this.
Yes, that's what I was saying. Because I started off playing 2. Well, I started off playing 1, the original, and I went to 2. Then I played 7 for a bit. Then I played 8. Then I went back to 7. And for me, 8 is my nostalgia because the simple graphic change between 7 and 8 is what really got me hooked on 8. Because 7, you gotta admit, the polygons were few.
Well, seven had that thing where the cutscenes were beautiful, but
Oh yeah,
it was literally
were
the
great.
first. I'm not screaming with you even a little bit, but it was the first generation, so clearly they had difficulty understanding the fidelity limits of the machine.
Yep.
It was early, and to be fair, that's most first generation. Honestly, you don't notice it as much nowadays because the differences are so minor. But like, it's the beginning of a console generation and the end of a console generation are completely different as far as graphical fidelity goes. And
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%.
the thing is with 7 is they got it really well, obviously with the cutscenes, because they could run those in FMV. They understood the new CD format. They could run FMV, blah blah blah. It looked beautiful. They didn't know how to get everything perfect in the game itself. So you had those super deformed, kind of chibi, blocky, weird looking, like tiny elbows, but like giant masturbatory forearm characters and stuff like that. Like, they didn't quite know what to do with them, so they just gave you a visual representation of said character that you knew from the cutscenes, that you knew from the character profile. It was really where they were like, we can work with those characters on obviously a much more basic level than the cutscenes and the character portraits, but we can make a much better representation and not just a super deformed representation to handle graphical fidelity. They really started to understand the limits of the system and where they could go with it, polygon wise and stuff like that. So
you neglected the best part of 7, though.
do I want to know what you're about to say?
No, I'm not even gonna smart ass. The fucking music, man. The music in 7 was so fucking good.
Oh yeah, well I mean,
Don't
Nobuyu
get me-
Uematsu has done a beautiful work in all the games, to be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's all really good, and it might be once again the whole fucking nostalgia, but
Yeah, once again, that's nostalgia because the opening theme for Final Fantasy VIII is a song I still listen to this day.
It's funny because I played them both and I liked both of them.
Is such a good tune. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just enjoyed 7's better, and I don't know. I think it had to do more with the fact because I was kind of in that area for both of them anyway. And I mean, objectively, they're probably on the same quality, but I think because 7 was the first game, and again, I'm fully admitting this is a nostalgia point, that really hit those, like, emotional points. First game to make me ever cry, because obviously everybody knows, and this is not a spoiler, and if you have not played Final Fantasy 7 and don't want spoilers, cover your ears. If you have not lived on this planet for the last 30 years, cover your ears. When Aerith dies, and you have that sad moment, and she gets stabbed through the chest by Sephiroth. It was just, I think it really cemented that game in a lot of people's minds. And 8, while an amazing game, and yes, has somewhat similar moments, like the dance scene and the fight scene, when they're fighting at the very end, doesn't have that same emotional pull.
Yes, it does not have that same sort of punch in the gut.
Because it was that.
I find.
Sorry, go ahead.
I find that FF8's story is a little bit more rich, whereas I find 7's whole thing with Cloud to be still a little confusing to this day. Is he a clone? Is he not a clone?
7 is super convoluted, and let me tell you that I'm agreeing with you from a point of having played 7 Crisis Core, and Dirge of Cerberus, and watching Advent Children and the anime one. I can't even remember. Crisis. No, yeah. I don't remember the anime thing in Japan. I watched them all, and I still couldn't tell you exactly how it is. Like, they allude to a lot of things. They're clearly making a lot of religious allusions, and honestly, you could tell they didn't quite know exactly where they were going. They made this grand RPG that they had all this time to fill. They had an idea, they had a point, they had several story points to fill, they had an ending in mind, and obviously one of the story points was Aerith getting stabbed, but they didn't know quite where to fill, and a lot of it gets really convoluted in the intermediate part. That's why I wouldn't say 7 is my favorite. I mean, I love 7.
Yeah, 7's fantastic.
So check this out. You know they have Final Fantasy 1 and 2? Some people might say the best way to play those would be with... Segue.
The NES controllers for the Switch.
See what I did there? Do you see what I did there?
I was going to end, actually, but okay, we can keep going. because we've actually hit our 2-hour limit. But let's go.
Well, we'll just say we can do it quick. The controllers got announced for use. Well, I guess you could kind of maybe use them with. I don't know. Can you use them on other games?
Yes, and to be fair, you can
Yeah,
already use
they're Joy-Cons.
bit dot. I believe it's bit.8io or something like that. Already makes one.
Right.
That
But I mean,
works
do
for
they have they don't have analog?
They don't have analog controls, but they do work, and you can get versions of these with analog controls that look more like the SNES. Not these particular ones, but there are companies that make ones that already look like this. Because they essentially the ones that work on the Switch are basically just Android controllers.
So I give like zero shits about it for me personally because I think like the Nintendo controllers were fine for back in the day when they came out, but
If
they're
you give me
garbage.
if you give me an SNES controller, I'd be all.
That's what I was just gonna say. Give me that dog bone, and I'll take that all day, every day. But the
Well, I
original ones
have.
are
I literally have one
uncomfortable.
in my drawer down here. A USB dog bone controller.
Yeah,
I'm just all over that one.
The
That one's
original ones
just-
are uncomfortable. They're sharp. The
You got that
buttons
Nintendo
don't-
thumb.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
just-
right there.
You come out with the SNES ones and we'll talk. But the original ones, I didn't realize how bad the original ones really were until I
You went back and
used
tried them
one.
again.
Yeah, and it's
Yep.
just like, oh, these were garbage.
Oh, you have such nostalgia for them until you go back and you're like, how did young me deal with this? I feel like I'm
Yeah.
getting the arthritis just playing with these. Yes, I turned into an old Jewish grandmother when I played Nintendo, apparently. Oh my god! Glavin, how did you deal with this? But yeah, it's such an uncomfortable feeling. I think they're cool. I think they would be nice for those games that are coming out with the multiplayer experiences and those games that are being re-released on the Switch. And I think they'll be great because they connect to the Switch. As somebody, say a younger person who, brings it into school or whatever, or goes out with their friends and just pops the Switch down while they're at like a McDonald's or a Starbucks or at school or whatever and plays the game there. That kind of thing. If they want to experience an older game. Not that I think that's necessarily a core audience for it, but I don't know where it's going to go past that. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Give me the SNES ones, that's all I'm saying.
Oh, that dog bone, man. That dog bone is the way to go.
Although I don't even know if that dog one would work out very well because I think those at least they look to me like they're smaller than the original ones, the NES ones that go on the side.
In the
of
pictures
Switch.
in the article we have, they actually look pretty good. They have the full
They're
Famicom
bigger
ones,
than
too.
Switch, but I don't know if well maybe they are full size. Yeah, those are
Yeah.
pretty small. But I think like the Super Nintendo ones, they look kind of odd on there.
Well, they would look kind of odd because the dog bone wrapping around that would be
Yeah.
have to be either really long or not proper dog bone. It should be like bottom half dog bone, top half flat, which would fuck up with the obviously the L and R
Yeah.
buttons. I'm excited to see Legend of Zelda on the original one because I wouldn't mind running through that. And I've heard this is not anything that's in the article, but I've heard this separately. Is that apparently these games on the Switch release are some of the closest emulation you can find anywhere, where they actually have like the proper code numbers and the memory are written to the exact right amounts and stuff like that, where you can run like speed run tests and stuff like this on these things, and you can actually practice your speed runs on these emulators, where you couldn't do that on pretty much anything else because the memory rights were written differently.
If they want to make the Zelda one though, like more realistic, they need to have like a small percentage chance that the next time you log in, your saves are gone because the battery fucking quit working.
Only after 10 plus years.
Oh no,
Final Fantasy 2 did that. to me.
they died after 10 years, but those batteries were known to just crap out altogether. So
I must have been really
Fantasy,
lucky. My battery never crapped out.
Final
we had
Fantasy
one
2 did
card
that to me.
On Zelda,
Lost
it never did. And I didn't really. I played a little bit of Final Fantasy 1 and 2, but honestly, my Final Fantasy experience really expanded out on the SNES. So
Yeah, I got to literally the save point right before the final boss on the moon, and came back, and all my data was gone.
let's not talk about not finishing a Final Fantasy game. All right? I don't
no,
have time
hold on.
for this
Seriously,
shit.
let's talk about not finishing a Final Fantasy game.
I've already made this rant on here probably about 3 times.
He has made this rant on this Mindless Banter or the previous Mindless Banter. So take your pick.
Quick synopsis. I've told you 7 was my favorite. Still never fucking beat it because I've played it on PC, on PlayStation, 2 times on PC, 2 different versions. Crashed in the same fucking spot at that last fight. Never fucking beat that game.
Alrighty, I think that's gonna do it for us.
Good,
All
I'm
right.
hungry.
Unless you guys want to keep going, I'm going to keep going, but I know you usually have to go, so I don't want
I
to
need
keep you
some
here.
chicken.
Yeah, we can call it here.
All right, sounds good, guys. Thank you so much for stopping by. We appreciate each and every one of you. Love your faces. Love your faces, all of you who are listening. Thank you so much for hanging out and listening to our random miscellaneous rant. We'll be back next week, hopefully with all 4 of us. But if not, it'll still be just as derpy because we are just as derpy. Everybody say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye bye.
Toodaloo, motherfuckers!